Hey guys, what is up? It is me, Pagey, here once again with another video on The Flash. Not necessarily Season 7, not necessarily Season 8, but let's hope Season 8, because that would be pretty cool. So yeah, The Flash has been on, as I would have just hinted at, for, 7 seasons now, with them actually not too far away from the commencement of filming for Season 8. Apparently they are set to start filming for Season 8 at around the end of July, which would pretty much have them starting filming around like a week after the Season 7 finale airs, which is pretty crazy. Obviously, I think that has to still be confirmed, but that's what the people in Vancouver are saying. That's when it's set to start filming. But obviously, one of the big questions heading into each season is, well, who's the bad guy? Who's the villain? And in the case of recent season, who are the villains? Of course, we've had the graphic novel approach the past couple of seasons, which allows spotlight to be given over 2 different villains each season, one villain for the first half of the season and another for the back half, with usually the bigger of the 2 villains being for that back half of the season. Now, one villain that I personally have been asking for since heading into the second season of The Flash, so pretty much as soon as the first season ended, which is pretty much over half a decade now, has been Cobalt Blue. Now, I wasn't specifically saying he had to be in season 2, like, oh my god, put him in season 2 or it's ruined. However, it would be a missed opportunity to not use the character at some point in the show's future, whether that be in the near future or the far future like we're in right now. Considering the setup they had done with the character on the show who would eventually become him most likely, with that character of course being the ancestor of Eobard Thawne himself, Eddie Thawne. And well, that might be, that time might be, coming around soon. It might be on its way, thanks to something that was said over the past weekend. So Rick Cosnett, who is the actor who portrays Eddie Thawne, was on an Instagram live stream this past weekend, just having a chat. And I'm assuming someone in the live chat brought up returning to the Flash or something like that. And well, this is what he said.
I'm definitely going to come back before the series ends. I don't know how. I'd love to come back as Barry's arch enemy because that would make a perfect arc. Also made more screen time.
So yeah, you heard him right. So Rick Cosnett is saying that he definitely will be returning to the Flash before the series ends, whether that be in season 8 or in season 25, whatever it is. Which is of course really cool to hear, though this whole situation I guess is a wait and see. However, the only time from my memory at least, that we have heard someone else from the show that's been on the show say that they are definitely coming back was John Wesley Shipp, who of course plays Jay Garrick, and he was told about he was returned to the show, I think like over a season before actually understanding him coming back. So he was told he was coming back as Jay last season before COVID and everything like that. Obviously, he was at the beginning of it, but we're meant to get him in the back half, and they changed their plans, and they said, yeah, we're going to use you next season instead. So it is likely and very plausible that Rick has been reached out to as well, just to check on his availability at a certain point in time, without actually confirming to us that specific timing. Like, he actually might know when roughly he would be returning to the show. Now, in regards to his return as Eddie Thawne, Cobalt Blue has always been the only way many have seen this happening in regards to him showing up again in the present day at the very least. We of course have had Eddie Thawne return or show up again, I think twice, after he died and, before now. That being an episode where Barry ran back in time to the events of season 1 before Eddie had died. And that's when we got like Barry to have Eddie record that message, you know what I mean? Like, it was that type of thing. And there was also an episode based within the Speed Force where Eddie just played like a Speed Force manifestation thing version of himself. Now, those appearances were cool and all that, but we were waiting for the proper return of Eddie Thawne in the real life, in the present day, in the form of Cobalt Blue. Now, in regards to what the actual story would be on the show for the character of Eddie Thawne, aka Cobalt Blue, as we saw at the end of season 1, Eddie was sucked into the singularity, and from the episode after Crisis from last season, we know that the singularity still happened. That was a thing that didn't change due to Crisis. So we should assume that Eddie Thawne was still sucked up into that singularity as well. The big thing about the current post-Crisis timeline is that they don't know there is a multiverse out there. Of course they're going to rediscover it. We just know that that's going to happen, but they haven't discovered it as of yet. Whether it happens at the end of this season or next season, who knows? But if Eddie went anywhere when he was sucked into that, another Earth is a solid possibility. Of course, he could have gone into some random void in the universe, some abyss if you want to call it, and just been sitting there. But I would say if they're going to do anything where he's been gone for all these years, it would be that he went to another Earth or something along those lines. Now, the storyline from the comics with Cobalt Blue revolves around him being the twin brother of Barry Allen, who, after being born, was given to another family after their baby passed away due to complications with the birthing process. Now, that family actually being the Thawne family, with this child being named Malcolm, not Eddie, so it was Malcolm Thawne. Now, Malcolm had just a terrible childhood, that's the best way to put it, surrounded by crime and just a not very supportive family, while Barry, the lucky twin out of the two, is raised by a loving family. And it's very important to remember that this is before they changed Barry's origins to where, like, Nora is savagely murdered, if you want to call it, and Henry Allen goes to prison. That was an origin change made well after the Cobalt Blue storyline. So Barry's childhood was even better. Even if it was only like the first 9 years on this show, in the comics, it went for much longer, so it was even better. Now, to keep it short and sweet, Malcolm Thawne learns of his true heritage and who Barry Allen is, with him even being present the night that Barry's actually hit by the lightning, which gave him his powers, and this was due to him like spying on Barry and stuff like that, and learning more about him. I think he actually got a job as, I think it was like a janitor or a cleaner in the forensics lab, and that's how he was able to just spy on Barry. Now, Malcolm goes down a road where he comes in possession of some useful items and takes up the mantle of Cobalt Blue to get back at Barry. However, by the point in time in which he is ready to strike and ready to get revenge on Barry, Barry has actually died in Crisis on Infinite Earths, sacrificed himself, and now Wally West is the Flash. And this leads Cobalt Blue to actually harming the people that Barry Allen cared about, rather than Barry Allen himself. So on the show with Eddie Thawne as Cobalt Blue, you can actually follow a very similar storyline to that from the comics. Eddie in season 1 had everything. He had everything. He was seen as like the model cop. He had the girl in the form of Iris. The only blip in his time in season 1 before he died was his descendant from the future, Earbud, telling him that it didn't really matter in the long run. But in the present day, Eddie had a lot going for him. Now, when Eddie sacrifices himself at the end of season 1 to get rid of Earbud, he is the true hero of that situation, that season. He's the one that actually got rid of Earbud at that point in time and saved a lot of people, including Iris, Joe, Barry, everyone there, everyone in Team Flash, and who knows who else. We know that as viewers, but when we head into season 2, we know that Central City doesn't see it that way. They think the Flash is the real hero of the situation of Central City and everything like that. All Eddie Thawne got was like a little plaque thing in the CCPD. Of course, we saw Barry deal with that guilt when he kept to himself for a while after the events of season 1 at the beginning of season 2. He dealt with that. But outside of that, it wasn't resonated. So if Eddie returns, knowing what he did at the end of season 1 in those events, sacrificing himself, he would see a very different reality than what he would expect to come back to this Earth, with. He would see, based off the city and their recollection of history, that the Flash was praised as the hero of that time, and that it seems the Flash took in that praise. They could make it seem that Barry took in that praise and that Barry didn't, feel that guilt and everything like that we saw at the beginning of season 2. And of course, Eddie knows that Barry's the Flash. It wouldn't be this whole thing where he had to find out who the Flash was and get revenge and stuff. He knows that Barry's the Flash. He knows that, or at least he thinks that Barry took all the credit and just acted like he was the hero of the situation. Along with that, Barry is married to Iris, and potentially at that point in time will either have a child or Iris will be pregnant. And in Eddie's eyes, Barry is living his life. Barry's married to Iris, he's the hero of Central City, hero of that situation, while Eddie has just been, forgotten in his eyes. Almost exactly like what Earbud was saying in season 1 to him. If this isn't motivation for someone to lose it and get as much of a personal revenge against someone as they can, then I don't know what will. I personally think this would be the perfect storyline and a perfect loop for not only Eddie Thawne as a character, because people could argue there may be some unfinished business there, but just the situation as a whole, and even just season 1 as a whole, I think it would just be the perfect storyline to do on the show. And also, Cobalt Blue's powers allow him to take powers from other people and just things in general and use them for himself. So he could easily match himself up against Barry as well as other potential metahumans that might fight against him. Now, one of the big questions around this would be what the season would look like, and I think there should be a lead-up story at the beginning of whatever season is. Let's just assume it's season 8, it's next season. So there's a lead-up story at the beginning of season 8 with another villain, and Cobalt Blue's the back half villain. So maybe the first half of the season is about reopening and rediscovering, re-exploring the multiverse with maybe another threat there, or maybe there is no threat. Maybe there is no overly big villain at the beginning of the season. Maybe it is just villains of the week, which I actually wouldn't mind if they are rediscovering the multiverse, which then leads into the Cobalt Blue story for the second half of the season. I think you have to use Eddie Thawne, aka Cobalt Blue, as an ending storyline for a season rather than something at the beginning and setting something else up. I think you have to use something else to set up Cobalt Blue, and what better to do it than through a possible multiverse related storyline? And that's when maybe Eddie is able to rediscover the Earth that he was originally from and seek out and plan his revenge. I think that would be pretty damn awesome. But yeah, guys, thanks for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, it'd be awesome if you could drop a like on it to show your support. It'd be awesome if you could do that. I said awesome like 3 times in the space of 2 seconds there. Awesome. Let me know your various opinions down there in the comment section down below. That would, of course, be awesome. And if you're new to the channel, that'd be awesome. So, actually, it'd be awesome if you'd subscribe. So be awesome and subscribe to the channel, which would be awesome. Are we awesome? Okay, sweet. I'll catch you on the next video, guys. Stay awesome. Goodbye.